Hello boys and girls, and welcome to my player ratings for today's victory against Sheffield United in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. We are at Wembley again, the semi-finals. Now, it's going to be difficult whoever we face. Manchester United are already through. At the time of actually filming this, Leicester are playing Chelsea. And then this evening it's going to be Newcastle against Manchester City. And I believe the draw for the semi-final is actually at half-time of that Newcastle-Manchester City game. So it won't be long until we find out who we are playing. But listen, this was a difficult game. Going to Sheffield United, going to Bramall Lane. And it was never going to be an easy one. People were talking all beforehand that we're going to come crashing back down. We only beat Southampton. Blah, blah, blah. But it's 2 wins on the bounce. And I'll tell you something, it was not a bad performance at all. The first half, we were absolutely excellent in my opinion. Opening 10 minutes, a little ropey, a little shaky. And Sheffield United actually had a goal ruled out by VAR. But I'm not listening to all this nonsense about, you know, they had goals disallowed by VAR. Yes, because they were offside. So what are you trying to talk about? They were offside. Simple as that, really. So no, they didn't score. And it was ruled out. Offside. That's what VAR's for. And it gets them right. And this is where it works. Because, you know, Sheffield United actually had 2 goals disallowed through VAR. The first one, the linesman and the referee never noticed it. So without VAR, Sheffield United would have got the goal. But the second one, the linesman, fair play to him, he actually noticed it. And it would have been ruled out even without VAR. So, yeah, listen, second half, it was a bit of a backs to the wall kind of job. But like Southampton, Sheffield United never really had any clear-cut chances. Right up to the moment when they scored with 3 minutes to go. They only had 1 shot on target in the whole of that second half. We still had 59% possession of the play. And we did look dangerous on the counter. But what we did was allow them a lot of time on the ball and allow them to put those dangerous crosses into the box, because that was Sheffield United's strength. That was where, if they were going to get anything out of the game, they were going to get something from. They were dangerous with throw-ins. They were dangerous with corners and free kicks and everything else like that. But we dealt with it relatively comfortably, and in a weird sort of way. David Luiz got injured midway through the second half, and him coming off actually had a negative effect on the way we played. I felt anyway, and I think a lot of people, you know, also agreed with that, because playing in a back three, David Luiz was absolutely fine. There was some standout performances, which I will get into in a moment. And overall, listen, it's the quarterfinal of an FA Cup. What more do you want? We've just played our 4th game in a row away from home since we've came back from the coronavirus pandemic. I'm sorry, but that is difficult at any level of football, let alone in the Premier League. And you've gone to Manchester City, you've gone to Brighton, you've gone to Southampton, and now you've gone to Sheffield United. And what's most pleasing about the last 2 results with Southampton and Sheffield United, these are difficult places to go, and they're difficult for Arsenal notoriously. We went to Bramall Lane earlier on in the season in the Premier League and we lost. Remember that. We also drew at the Emirates against Sheffield United. So they're not no mugs. And, you know, they do what they do best. They're very direct. They get the ball into that final third and they use it to their strengths. It's as simple as that. You might not like it. It might not be pretty, but it's effective. But it wasn't effective enough today. So with that said, let's go and get into the player rating. Starting off in goal, Emi Martinez. Another very accomplished performance. His distribution is unbelievable. Again, in the first half, it was just so good. Didn't have, you know, much chance with the goal. But overall, it was a very solid display. And I thought Emi Martinez, I'll give him a 7. I thought that was good. Going to move to the next player, and that was Mustafi. And it wasn't that great, to be honest. I felt he got caught out of position a few times. And I felt that he looked a bit like a rabbit in front of the headlights at times. It was a bit of a weird one from Mustafi, but I'm not going to be too overly critical. I'm going to give Mustafi a 6 for his performance. Next player was David Luiz, and I actually felt he was playing well. I actually thought he had a very good comeback given the criticism and everything that he was going through. But he did only play 54 minutes before picking up a slight injury, so I'm not going to give him more than a 6, but I felt that was a accomplished performance. I thought he'd done all right when he was playing. That wasn't bad at all. Next player was Kolasinac. Now, what I will say about Kolasinac was the goal. It was just really, really poor defending. There's no positional awareness to how the ball may ricochet or come at you at a difficult angle or anything. He always seems to get his feet tied up and he can't seem to get himself out of it. And it was a very, very sloppy mistake. Luckily, it didn't cost us, but it could have. And again, this is the kind of defending we need to eradicate. I don't think he had a bad game. I felt that he looked very strong, especially in the first half. But that silly, silly, silly mistake is the difference between us progressing and not. Because it's those silly mistakes that always come back to bite us in the arse. And so for that reason, I'm going to give Kolasinac a 6. Going to move to the next position. That was Ainsley Maitland-Niles. And I'll tell you something. There we go. Justification as to why he should be starting ahead of Hector Bellerin. All day long. He done more in that 90 minutes than Hector Bellerin has done in the last 3 games. It's as simple as that. The whole team and the whole balance on the right hand side looks so much better with Maitland-Niles there. It's as simple as that. Pepe has a better game. He looks more dangerous because he's not playing in front of Hector Bellerin. It's that simple. What more do you want me to say? In the first half, there was one moment where he overlapped the fullback and got to the byline and put a dangerous cross in. When was the last time we saw Hector do that? No, no, no. Maitland-Niles, I really hope he wakes up and sees that he's got an opportunity of playing for Arsenal Football Club. You might be a midfielder, you might like it there and you might want to play there. But you've got the opportunity at right back. Go and grab it with both hands, man. Play the position you're asked to play. Don't moan. Get on with it. Deal with it. And you could make that position your own. It's that simple. Brilliant performance from Maitland-Niles. And I'll give him an 8. Next player will be Granite Shaka. And again, you just see how important he is. It was such a good, solid performance in there. He does all the dirty work and just lays it off simply. It's so effortless. And again, another good performance for me. I can't say no more than that. And he got the captain's armband again as well when Lacazette went off. And yeah, it was a really good performance. And I'm going to give Granite Shaka an 8. Next player was Kieran Tierney, and I'll tell you something, what a performance. Man of the match for me. He was an absolute machine. The problems he was causing down that left hand side, his overlaps, the deliveries in the box, his defending, just every bit of it was superb today. And you can see why this lad is so highly rated. There's a reason why he was Scotland's first choice left back ahead of the likes of Robertson before he got injured, because he's that highly regarded, he's that good. And I just pray now that Tierney is able to keep a consistent run of games going and not get injured again. And if he does that, then I tell you something, we've got one hell of a player on our hands, because he is so, so good. Like I said, man of the match for me, and I'm going to give Tierney a 9. Next player was Joe Willock, and I felt that he tired a little bit in the second half, came off just before the 70th minute mark. But in the first half, I felt he done really well. He was driving and working hard in the midfield. There's just that little bit of cutting edge and that little bit of, you know, decision making that needs to be sorted out and added to his game. But apart from that, I thought it was a decent enough performance, to be fair. But he didn't really get more than the 70th minute, so I'm going to give Joe Willock a 6 for his performance. Next up, we have Nikola Pepe, and that's one of the best performances I've seen from him in an Arsenal shirt. He was so dangerous. And you see, like I said, what happens when you've got somebody behind him that he trusts and actually works in his favour. He was getting the ball not facing his own goal. He was getting the ball facing a defender. And they are shit scared of Nikola Pepe when it's one-on-one. You know, cool as you like for the penalty. Caused all kinds of problems. It was a brilliant save from the keeper near the end of the first half that stopped him scoring his second. And he's now got 16 goals and assists for the season in all competition. You know, a guy that's apparently a flop. 16 goals and assists for the season. In a new league. Playing in a disjointed team that's been all over the place under 3 managers. Behave yourself, man. I can't wait till next season because there's going to be a few of you that have to actually shut your mouth when it comes to Nikola Pepe. And I will give him an 8 for his performance today. Next up, we have Saka. And I was actually surprised that he started this game, to be fair with you. And he actually played the whole game. But what I will say, it was a good performance. But he wasn't the standout player today. And I actually don't mind that. Because I think it's embarrassing when an 18-year-old boy is the one that's grabbing games by the scruff of the neck and showing up the senior players. It's actually nice that we can look at other players today and say, you know what, he was good, he was good. It takes away the pressure, lightens the load, you know, and that's good. And, you know, it was another good performance from him. I thought he was dangerous. That left-hand side, the way they were all interchaining, you know, Kolasinac at one point was there and Tierney and Saka and so good, so good. I will give him an 8 for his performance because I really enjoyed that today from Saka. Last player was Alexandre Lacazette, and again, it's just not happening for him. He's just misfiring when the ball comes up. It's bouncing off him. It's not being held up. It's not sticking. Something's just not right. You know, came off before the 70th minute, and it just wasn't a good performance for me. I can't give Lacazette more than a 6, to be honest. He works hard, but there's just a spark missing. Something not right. And when you look at, you know, Eddie Nketiah starting ahead of him, you've got to say that's probably justified at the minute because it's just not working for him. It's just not going right. I just don't know what it is. I honestly don't know what it is. But yeah, I can't give him more than a 6 for that performance. Now we're going to look at the substitutes, and Rob Holding was on there the longest, and I tell you something, that was a ropey performance when he came on. For as good as he was against Southampton, oh my dear word, he was just all over the gaff. He's giving the ball away, he looked rusty, looked shaky. I don't know what it was, but whoa, that's why I still worry about this guy, because that performance was like, oh my word, what is happening here? How can you go from being so good against Southampton to looking so shaky and so nervy only a few days later? I don't know whether it's because he was brought on and he couldn't get up to pace of the game or what. It was just, it wasn't the greatest. I'm not going to give Rob Holding more than a 5 for that. Eddie Nketiah, I thought he had a decent performance when he came on. You know, he had that chance before Sheffield United equalised, and that's the bit of his game that he's got to sort out. He's got to be more clinical in that area. But yeah, listen, he was on the pitch 20 minutes, and I won't give him more than a 5, not based on his performance, but because he was only there for 20 minutes. Socrates came on in the 93rd minute, so I'm not going to mark him. And Dani Ceballos, he came on as well at the same time as Nketiah. And we didn't see a lot of him, you know, in them final 20 minutes. But I tell you something, we saw him when it was needed. Only his second goal of the season. And I'll tell you something, it could not have come at any more important a time. 91st minute, brilliant finish. Still think that the goalkeeper was a bit suspect and left his near post open big time. But Dani Ceballos, cool as you like, slid it under him into the net. And it was the winning goal. So for that reason, you're going to give him a 7 because he scored the winning goal. But yeah, apart from that, yeah, it wasn't, you know, much to do. It was all hands to the pump at that point. And just trying to, you know, keep what we had, shall we say, neat and tidy in areas, but he got that all-important winning goal, and that hopefully will do his confidence some good before we go into, you know, the remaining games. Second goal of the season, that shows where the problem's been. We can't have an attacking midfielder and they've only scored 2. See how desperate we are in the midfield area and why we need to sort that area out. But Yeah, I'll give him a 7 because he did get that winning goal. Now, the manager's rating. You know what? I was happy with that. Again, justified with his team selection. He went brave. He went bold. No Guendouzi in the squad. No Ozil in the squad. And at the end of the day, you're not looking back on it and saying, why weren't Guendouzi there? Why weren't Ozil there? You're looking at it and saying, boy, the manager got it right. Justified. Cool. No worries at all. Nikola Pepe gets an 8. Well done to him. Substitutes again. Right time. Did what he needed to do. No issues in any way, shape or form. Nikola Pepe, he gets an 8. So there we go. That is it for the player ratings. I'm happy. We're in the semi-finals, man. It's another trip to Wembley. I'm gutted we can't go because I love a day out at Wembley. And we've been quite spoiled in that respect over recent years. But yeah, listen, we've got the job done. Let's see what happens in the draw. Let's see who we face. What I will say to people that want to write us off already is that when we last won the FA Cup a few years ago, we ended up drawing Manchester City in the semi-final and beating them. And in the final against Chelsea, we had to go and beat them and they were the champions. You know, they were chasing the double. So don't tell me it can't be done, man. Believe me, it can be. But it is what it is. If you're new around here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you smash a like on this video. I will be back tomorrow morning for DT's Daily, where I will be going over all of the FA Cup games. I'll also be going over the Premier League games. And of course, I will also be looking ahead to the semi-final draw and who Arsenal end up facing. It's going to be interesting. And we will wait and see. No doubt, I suppose everyone's going to say they want to play Arsenal because we're so crap and we're in 9th place. Bore off. Seriously, it's absolutely boring hearing it, man. So yeah, listen, if you're new around here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you smash a like on this video. And I will see you lot soon. I'm out of here.